so many stories. There's so many things that I could share. And as I was preparing and thinking about it the past couple of days, just trying to put it all in a short amount of time doesn't even seem fair. um, but God is so good. God is so good. Actually, our kind of anthem song for this year has been Worthy of It All. Every team that came to see us, we do a worship night, and we, ask the teams, is there anyone on your team that can help lead worship? We can lead worship, and we just try to prepare. We don't put a set list out or anything, but every team that came in, we sang, "You're worthy of it all." We were able to just do some amazing, incredible things this year with our team season, and God has just blown us away. But I know when I talked kind of earlier in the year, I was here, I think at the beginning of June, and I was sharing about the importance of the table. The importance of the table, and God has begun to even reveal more to me about the understanding of bringing people to your table. The importance about bringing those that you know to your table and letting the aroma of what God is doing in your life begin to spread. And as we finished out the year, we were able to celebrate with all of our different programs. We have a sports program. We have a village, kids program where we get to go and do village outreaches and share the love of Jesus. And then we take a time that we have a malnourished program, and we get to work with moms and educate moms on how to properly get their kids to the correct weight. And normally we go out into the village to provide Christmas baskets. And this year, not only did we provide Christmas baskets, but we were able to provide blankets for these families. And as we began to prepare, we were like, let's go out and do it. But the thought of bringing them to our table just continued to resonate. So we opened up our home, and we asked all the families to come to us, and we prepared a table for them. We let them come in and sit at our table. Now, a lot of the families that we work with are considered outcast. They're native to the community. They're Pokomchi people. And a lot of times they're kind of shunned from the community because most of them don't even speak Spanish. And so for them to wrap their mind around the thought that they get to sit at the table with us almost makes them uncomfortable. They kind of squirm at the thought of like, you're inviting me to sit at your table where I don't belong there. But for us, in our understanding as believers, everybody belongs at the table. Everybody belongs at the table because Jesus sat at the table. Jesus brought them to the table. But as that thought began to show is when you bring them to the table, they begin to contribute at the table. My prayer as I've been serving in Guatemala is that, yes, we receive funds from the United States. We are blessed by amazing givers and donors, and we couldn't do the work that we do without you. Thank you. Thank you for sending us. Thank you for supporting us. But my hope is that Guatemala people would begin to change the look of what it meant to give. And this year, because we've taken time to bring people to our table, they've begun to contribute to the table. And let me tell you, the amount of people in Guatemala that have surrounded us to bless those in their own community has blown us away. We've had people call us to say, hey, We have bags of clothes. Will you come pick it up? And we're thinking, yeah, we'll swing by on our way home and we'll pick it up. And we get there, and let me tell you, we could not fit everything in our car. We had to call our staff and say, hey, get here with the truck. We have to fill up not only the car, but the truck full of donations. We then had other people call and say, hey, we have all of this protein mix that it's like a soy protein. So it's kind of like a tofu substitute type deal. But meat in the villages is a luxury, and we had a family call us and say, hey, we have some bags. Would y'all come pick it up? We know you're doing Christmas baskets. We would love to bless you with it. And let me tell you, it wasn't just one bag. It wasn't just 2 bags. It was thousands of bags to put in our Christmas baskets. And God really began to share with me. He says, when you invite them to your table, they begin to contribute to your table. Some of them may not even realize why they're contributing, but they're beginning to realize that they're blessed to be a blessing. And our aroma is beginning to rub off on them because we're showing them that there's an example, there's something different, there's a way to live differently than just fending for yourself. Looking only in your household and what you can contribute to in your comfort zone. Sometimes we've got to rub shoulders with those people that it might be a little bit hard to. But our hope is that by rubbing off on them, it will begin to change the things that they're doing in their life. And if I could write out the list, there's probably been 20 people and families that have supported us in the past 3 months that had helped contribute to the table. I want to challenge you, Destiny. I want to challenge you. One, I can stand up and here and say, hey, go on a missions trip. And I encourage you to go on a missions trip. But I also encourage you that you, as a believer, your aroma should attract those that are around you. Your aroma should begin to change those that may not even be believers. I do believe one of the things that I have learned by living in a foreign country is sometimes it's hard to have the revolving door, people coming in and out of your house. But when you allow the accessibility for them to come in, it allows the accessibility for you to begin to share what the Lord has done. If we don't sit at the table, and one of the things we say all the time is if we don't sit at the table with the sinners, how are they gonna know what he has done and who he is? It's about building relationships with them. It's about showing that your actions are louder than what you're saying. I could sit there and I could preach at them time and time again, but the way that I've gotten their attention is by sitting at the table with them. And by sitting at the table with them, they begin to contribute at our table. Some of them are not believers yet. Some of them have not said yes. But one of the people that we've brought into our table is the guy who drove the bus for us when we had teen season. And he'd worked with other ministries before, and he was the bus driver. But to us, we're like, hey, it's time to eat. Come sit at the table. Come eat with us. Come have relationship with us. And now, we had one of our teams that was there and began to ask him, so are you a believer? No. And he was resistant at first. But the second team came and they began to have more conversation with him. And he said, we were on the way to an outreach at a hospital. And he looked at one of the team members and he says, I want to know more about this Jesus. How do I give my life to the Lord? He continually comes to our table. He continually sits at our table because he wants to know more, because he's seen in a short amount of time the impact that Jesus has had on him and his family. His kids, he had 2 twins at the beginning of the year, and they had gotten extremely sick. They were put into the hospital. We got a call at like 4 a.m. one night, and he called Ingrid and he said, Ingrid, I'm sorry, it's really late, but I need you to pray because I've seen that prayer works. And I've been in the hospital praying for my kids, but I need those who believe in the power of prayer to pray for my kids. We got a call a couple hours later, and he said, no, the kids are doing great. The doctors are even wondering what's happening. We've seen it work. But it wasn't because I stood on the street and said, come to Jesus. You're going to hell if you don't. Repent of your sins. No, it's because I brought them to my table. I encourage you, Destiny, bring people to your table. If you would take this much time to invest in bringing people to the table, I promise you Destiny Center would look completely different. It would flip the table. It would turn the table and make every single one of these, because we should be attraction for those who do not believe. But a lot of times we get too scared by being associated. But who do we say that we believe in? Who do we say that we trust and fully trust? And so why aren't we opening up the door and opening up the opportunity to reach those around us? Our aroma should look different. Coming home is actually a culture shock. Being here, I'm sorry, y'all do life wrong. You think that you have to fill all your time with the busyness and work, and I'm sorry, it's wrong. It's wrong. You've lived in the hustle and bustle, and you think you have to be stressed 24/7. And I walked through the store. Riker and I had to get some Christmas shopping done, and I was overwhelmed. I could have sat in the aisle and just had a panic attack. I'm like, goodness, 1, people are mean. But 2, I'm like, we live in this hyper, we have to be and we have to do and we have to fill our time or we're not doing it right. And I'm like, Guatemala does it right. They learn to have relationship with people. And I truly believe that Jesus really came to this earth to have relationship with people. He's worthy, but yet we fill our times with the busyness. We fill our time and make sure that every hour is accounted for, and yet we're missing the mark because there's so many people that we should be rubbing shoulders with and bringing them to the Lord because we desire to have a relationship with them. But we're too busy in our own schedule to even share of his goodness. Our aroma is dwindling because we've packed our schedules. And I want to challenge you. Let this Christmas season, let your aroma and your household be filled with Jesus is the reason. I'm here today because Jesus has changed my life. Jesus has died for me so that I can have a relationship with him. Bring those people to your table, because when you bring them to the table, they'll contribute to your table. I want to challenge you to contribute to the table. Summer 2025, Destiny's taking a missions trip to Guatemala, and I promise you, it will be a life-changing experience. You'll get to come, you'll get to see, obviously, what we do, but you'll get to be in a place that you're out of your comfort zone and in a place that God can really speak to you. This year, God has spoken to me in great ways, but more than just him speaking to me, we have seen his hand at work time and time again. It's like when we get the call in January that the house we had been praying for 2 years to become our mission home, they called us and said, it's yours if you want it. 2 years of waiting. This year, we got to be the first year to host our teams in our own home, and it just changed everything because we get to really have a relationship with the teams. But it's just amazing how God works. But he's always working. You just have to be still enough to see. Bring people to your table. Allow them to contribute to your table. And let God work at your table.